Let's see if YouTube's picking this up. I think I have it. Go live. Yeah. Just need to get the link and send it to him. I think it's working now. Okay. So, gonna add a couple images to GIMP, and then, well, there's a couple of ways to start this. Maybe we're gonna make a poster out of this, or it's a good idea to have the output in mind when we start. So let's say I want to use like a poster. So I'm gonna just go to File and New. And here I can set up the pixel count or use a template. I do think it doesn't really have a B-size piece of paper, which was what I was looking for, although it does have a metric B-size piece of paper. I can start with that, but it's probably easier to just use the pixels. So in my case, an 11 by 17 piece of paper should have at 300 dots per inch, or 300 pixels an inch. For a pretty high resolution image, that's 3,300 pixels wide. So it's pretty close to what it had. And then what 17 times 30 is 5,100. So 33 by 5,100 pixels. And then it's not really using that template anymore, so I just click OK. And it's going to be 159 megabytes, so you get a little warning saying it's kind of big. And so here's a 300 pixels per inch resolution 11 by 17 poster, right?
It's 3,300 and 5,100.
Yep. So 11 times 30, 300, I mean. So that's 3,300, and 17 times 300. Last time I checked was 5,100, right? So, there we go. All right, now we can add our images to this. There's a couple ways to do that. In here, we can just go to, under the File menu, we can go to Open as Layers, Control-Alt-O. So Control-O is open in most Windows programs, right? Control-Alt-O allows you to open images, and they come in as layers in GIMP. So this is where we depart from the Darktable settings, where in Darktable you're working on one image at a time, although you can copy those settings and do like a batch correction. Like if you took a lot of pictures in a single space with the same kind of exposure and all that kind of stuff, you could probably apply the same color corrections to all the images and get away with it. So that would be batch programming, or batch processing. So open as layers, and I believe we put those on the server, right? So let's check. Where is it? I think we output our own to our own folders, so I'm just going to go to my own. Yeah, thanks. Yeah, so I got a couple. Yeah, I got 3. And if you're not sure which one, you can look at you can just click in the preview, and yeah, I'll open that one. And it'll ask you a couple things, and those are probably worth talking about. So by default, GIMP has this built-in sRGB, which is it doesn't have as wide a color profile is like Adobe's RGB, but we're going to convert. It sort of doesn't matter. You can convert it to GIMP's built-in sRGB, which I'm going to go ahead and convert it because it may help processing a little bit. So we'll convert that. And my image is sitting here in relation to the size of the paper. So I'll do it again, Control-Alt-O this time instead of just going to the menu. And I'll grab the next one, which that one's the same, so do another one. Yeah, that one. And I think on this one we tried to pull out the purple out of these tarp over, what do you call them, shelters, shades. So I'll convert that one as well. All right, so we have this bright day with, so now I have 2 layers and a background. Right? If you turn off the background, you get a checkerboard that represents transparency, because how else are you going to show transparency on a computer screen, right? Can't see through it. So anyway, so right now it has a white background. You can edit any of these, and we can arrange in the layers. Maybe I can make that a little wider so you can see what's going on. So the order in which they're being displayed on the computer is being shown in the layers panel as well. You can blend them. We can, this is where we get to the compositing part of it. So a simple compositing would be just overlapping these images, right? So I'm going to move them around with the move tool. So we have the tools on the left in GIMP. Has anybody used Photoshop or GIMP before? A little bit? Okay. Okay. So Photoshop has a move tool as well, right? I think you can just hit A. Yeah. You hit V on the keyboard, and I think that's for move. Anyway, you can mimic the same keyboard shortcuts as Photoshop if you're familiar with it or whatever too. One of them that I like to mimic is the select none. That would be Control D. That's a common one in 3ds Max and other softwares and stuff. So under Edit, you can go to Keyboard Shortcuts, and you can look through any command almost. So if I want to deselect, so I go to the Select menu in the list, and I'm looking for none. So here's the none key. I click on it, and it says New Accelerator. So I just hold Control D, and that's already there for duplicate, and I don't care. So I'm going to reassign it. And so now, to deselect anything, I can hit Control D. Yay. I'll save it a couple times and close. And there we go. So back.
Control D?
So I just assigned the keyboard combination Control D to select none. There's a couple other ones that we may want to do that are similar or the same as Photoshop. Like Control L would be levels. And so if you go to colors and levels, we do that quite a bit. And that does not have a... Yeah, I might as well do it right now. So keyboard shortcuts. I'm going to go to the colors menu, if I can find it. Or I can search for levels.
How do you get to keyboard shortcuts?
Under the edit menu, sorry.
Thank you, sorry.
Good.
Filters.
Oh, apparently it's a filter. Yes. So yeah, there I found it. I found it. So Control L is going to be that. And it's going to say, well, that's already used for the layers dialog. I'm going to reassign that as well. I guess I can do one more. Curves. Remember we talked about the curve? And that's available in Photoshop and GIMP as well. So I'm going to type in curve, filters, curves. Click on that. That's a Control M in Photoshop. And that's already taken by the merge visible, so I don't care about that either. So save and close. So 3 custom-ish keyboard commands or keyboard shortcuts. Control L for levels, Control M for curves, and Control D for deselect. That's all I'm going to do right now, but there. We could do V for the move tool, but anyway, there's two ways to rearrange these, and they're all big, so maybe I want to scale them. I was thinking just overlap them and then I could have some text on it, so I think I do want to scale these images to fit the paper better. And there's a scale tool in here. Yeah, it's second from the upper right. So it's the Unified Transform tool, or you can just go straight to the the scale tool. So you can click and hold that down, and Shift S will do it too, but that's fine. And I'm going to click on the first one, and this gives you a grips around what I call grips around the border of the image itself. You can lock the aspect ratio, which is good, so you don't stretch the image or skew it. And with that, I can't scale it one way more than another. So I'm just gonna scale it to where it's just slightly smaller than the width, or narrower than the width of the paper. Good enough. And I'll click scale. It goes through that in the scale. I'm going to click on, I wanted to be able to click on the other layer, but it wasn't letting me, and somewhere in here it auto selects for you, or auto chooses. Well, I know the move tool does, but I thought this one did too. In this case, it doesn't, so I'm going to click on the next. In the layers, I'm going to select the next image that I opened as a layer, and then click on it, and then it chooses it. And it's already locked, or the aspect ratio is locked, so I'm just going to make this one, and you can move it while you're working on it so you can see. Now, I probably should have kept these the same size, but I'm just going to leave it like that and scale it. So I was able to move it and scale it in the same steps. So there's a quick scale tool, and moving your layers around, opening them in. So here's the beginnings of a composition where I have two images. Usually it's a good idea to adjust the edges somehow, or put a vignette around it. You could do that in Darktable as well, the vignette tool, but you have a little more control over it in GIMP. So that'll be nice to do as well. Any questions though, up to here? Let's say, so I'm going to use the move tool again, and I'm going to overlap these. So, I didn't want too much blue sky to be shown, so I'm going to adjust these to where they're inset a little bit from the edge of the paper, and the one image is on top of the other one. Now, it doesn't look good, and I can see like a border around the active layer. So if I click on the background, it should, I'll just click on the background in the layers, so that puts the border around the outside of the page so I can kind of see better what it looks like. And it's not looking that great because it looks flat, right? There's no what I want is a drop shadow to give it some depth. So drop shadows are great. And there is a drop shadow tool, so I'm just going to pick the top layer here. and it's probably a filter under somewhere, light and shadow. Here we go, and drop shadow. It says legacy, which tells me that there's two drop shadows. Yeah, there it is. And here's the latest one. Creates a drop shadow effect on the input buffer. So I'm just going to click it. So the input buffer is the layer here. And here's where I can preview what the drop shadow looks like. And in this case, it's 20 pixels out, but I really can't see it that well. And we can change the opacity of it and how it clips it and how it blends the drop shadow. I think I need it a little bigger till I can see it. There we go. Well, yeah. This is a fairly high resolution image, so it has lots of pixels. So one thing you can do is hold the control key down and roll your mouse wheel so we can see. And the opacity is pretty dim, so maybe 0.75 or something like that. So now I can see the drop shadow a little bit better. It's still not as pronounced as I'd like it. So where's the blending here? Here's the blending options. Right now, the mode for the blending. Sorry, am I going too fast? Any questions? So the settings for this drop shadow allows me to set the opacity, which allows the background, like this background image, to blend with that drop shadow, but there's also a mode in which it blends, which is under replace now, and maybe I want to use multiply, which actually darkens it. It just darkens the background image. So, well, it's actually multiplying. That's actually, it's blending with the image itself, and it's darkening it. So it looks nice and everything, but yeah, I chose multiply instead of what was the one, replace. So yeah, so that replace preserves the original, and is just overlapping the background image.
Where's the replace kind of at?
Oh yeah, it's under blending options. There's a little plus that you can click by it,
Okay.
and that pulls it open, and you see the mode.
Oh, I see now.
Okay. And then you can set the opacity for that blending as well. I was hoping to be able to blend that drop shadow with the background, but the best I can do here is just set the opacity. Now, if it's, yeah, might as well. I'm just going to make it a little bit darker and call that good, I guess. Oh, I wanted to blur maybe so maybe I'll set this up to around 40, a little bit higher for the X and Y. So it gives me a little bit more of a shadow, but it's a little too sharp. Now there is a little bit of blurring on the edge of it, but I think I want to blur that radius just a little bit more. That is 10 pixels, by the way, but if I set that blurring a little bit higher, that's probably too much. Yeah, something like, I kind of like that. So let's see what that looks like in and I'll click the background so I can see. So in that case, it looks like it gives it the depth I was looking for, I guess. Does that make sense?
My background for some reason is black.
Oh. There is a setting to do that. So yeah, let's say I want to change my background color. And maybe I want to make it that same purple or something like that, the SJC purple or whatever. So I'm going to select the background, and I'm going to hit the eyedropper, which should be I, but it's O anyway. But I'll click on that eyedropper. It's a color picker tool. And that's the same thing in Photoshop. So I'm going to click somewhere on the purple, the closest purple awning. That was the word I was looking for. Anyway, I'll click on it. Now I have this awning, the purple of the awning as my foreground color. So with the background selected, the background layer selected, I can go to Edit and Fill with foreground color, or that's a Control, comma. In Photoshop, I believe that's a Control backspace and a Control. Well, anyway, I'll fill with the. So now I have this purple as my background color. I know I didn't think it was going to look great, but
Oh, I was just thinking of the fact that now the awning top mixes with the background.
yeah. So instead of getting it the same color as one of the pixels that I clicked on, maybe I could adjust that color a little, and maybe, yeah, I'll make this a little bigger, hopefully. Yeah. So here's my color picker. You can choose a variety of color pickers. CMYK is good for print because that's what printers use, is cyan, magenta, yellow, and black. So that's what CMYK means. Or, yeah, watercolor versus the other color wheel, which allows you to, it's just a different way to pick the colors. This is fine. The GIMP's default is pretty good. But what I'd really want to do is just adjust the HSV, which is probably the easiest one. So I want to keep the H, which is the hue. So it's the same purple, but maybe I want to just desaturate it and maybe make its value a little bit lighter. So a little more gray and a little brighter. And okay. And then just do the same thing again, Control, comma. And now I have a lighter color. Maybe I should have gone a little bit lighter. But anyway, you see what that does? Say what?
The HV stuff.
Oh yeah. So if over here on the left you can do LCH or HSV. HSV is easier to understand, like hue and saturation and value. So how bright it is or how light it is. The saturation is how gray it isn't, right? So all the way saturated is like pure purple, whereas all the way desaturated is just gray. There's no purple at all. And then the value is just how bright or dark that purple is. Yeah, that sounds good. So I'll try it again. There. So now I keep the same hue, and I'm able to lighten it and desaturate it just a bit. Probably could have desaturated it even more for a little more subtle effect, but there you go. And that actually helps the drop shadow look pretty good too, I guess. Is that working? Okay. We talked about vignette types of ways to adjust the straightness of the border. So if you just don't want a knife edge, a rectangular edge on your images, like maybe this background one, the courtyard, or what do you call that, graduation plaza, we can use a couple techniques. One is just put a layer over it or whatever, but there's something else that works pretty good, and that's using a mask. So down here in the layer, in this, what do you call those options in the layers panel, there, right next to the delete the layer is a add in a mask that allows non-destructive editing, right, of transparency. So I'm gonna, let's see, yep, I'm just gonna click with the background selected and I'm gonna just add a mask to it. So here's the settings for this mask. I can't make that bigger. So as a default, I'm gonna fill the layer to white, which makes it fully opaque, and then black is fully transparent. Sounds good. So I'm gonna use white and add it. Well, I guess really that's transparent, right? So that mask is not masking anything. So that's backwards from what I was expecting. Anyway, if I paint black on this part of the layer, so right now I have it selected, see it has a white background around, a white border around what you're actually painting on. So I'm gonna use a paintbrush and I'm gonna paint on the mask. Does that make sense? Kind of. Well, I'll show you what it does actually. So right now I'm seeing, maybe I should do it the other way. Let's shift. Yeah, control clicking removes the mask. So this time I'm going to try it this way and use black, full transparency, and add. Oh, I see what I did wrong. I'm on the wrong layer. I wanted to do that on this image, not the background. So I don't know why I was thinking that. So I'm going to select this image and do a white, fully opaque. Hopefully this blanks out. It doesn't blank it out. Okay, try it again. Control click it, then click it again. Black, full transparency, and that blacked it out, right? So, with a white brush, whatever I paint on this mask will reveal what's behind it, right? So that's what I was going for. So I'm going to get a paintbrush. We can set the size of it. Right now it's very small. It's 51 pixels. Right here, because we have such a big image, I'm going to go with like 300, 400-ish size. And on the left also, I'm going to set the hardness to 0. So it makes a very soft brush. What all that does is from the center of the brush to the edge of the brush, it fades it, right? So it's not a hard edge on the edge. Okay, and I am going to use white, so I can click the purple color, but I kind of want to keep it. So I'm just going to switch, so I get 2 colors to pick from. They call it foreground and background color, but you can switch them around, so it's not like it matters. So here's the white, and I can just paint inside, and the border tells me what I'm painting on. So I'm just, even if I paint on here, nothing really happens, but if I paint past it, I'm starting to reveal the image behind the mask. So if I just go to town, and I can do something like, and just stay away from the edge. So if I paint on that edge, then I can see the straight edge on it, and that's kind of what I am trying to avoid. So Control Z. And just paint around and try to reveal what you want to reveal. And I can paint my own vignette, basically. You can also, okay, so that makes it look a little more like a window into the back, whatever. Is that working okay? Everybody comfy with how that works? Any questions about that?
I kind of wondered if you did it with the white and then you just kind of went over what you wanted to get rid of.
Yeah, let's try that. I did a lot of painting.
On the other one.
Or on the other one, yeah. Well, I'm just going to back. I don't really like what I did here, although that's good enough. I only did it a few times here, and then Control click on that mask, and then click it again, and this time a white, full opaque, and add. So nothing happens here, but I'm going to paint it with a black, so just set the value down to 0. You can hit, I think, D for the default colors, and then X to switch them. I think X still switches. Yeah. So I can hit the X on the keyboard and that switches it. D is the default colors. So I want to paint with black on the edges of this image, just like you were saying. And I can just occlude the edges of it. And there we go. Nice soft edges around the... Right. So something to this effect, so I can, oops, that's probably a little too much. Okay, but if you want a more defined, like oval-y shape here, I would suggest, here I'm just going to remove the mask again and add it again. And this time I am going to use the black one to occlude it. And then I'm just going to use the oval select tool, the ellipse select tool, pardon me. And then I'll drag in this selection, and I'll just use the grid here. And if I didn't get it quite right, I can, adjust it. Right, so I'm adjusting the selection. There. And then if I hit enter, that should select it. And then I hit delete to delete the black from the selection. And now I have this sharp edge around the, and then I can hit Control D to deselect. And now I have this oval mask to a nice sharp shape. Now if I didn't want a sharp shape on it, because that's not really a vignette, because it should have a nice border. So let's back up one more time before I deleted it. And then under the select, I think I can do, yeah, right here, I didn't set feather edges, but that's not too late, because I can go to select and feather the edges, and this allows you to blur that border or fade the selection by however many pixels you want. I think it's going to fade from the inside out, and that's why I'm getting this, what do you call it, warning sign saying I can't feather it past select areas continue outside the image. If I uncheck that, it's not going to select outside because I'm going right to the edge of the image. So, Control D again. And this time I would use the select tool and do pretty much the same thing, but move the edges in so I can feather it. I think there's a way to inset that, but anyway, this is an easy way to do it. So here's the vignette, and now I can go to select and feather, and it's still giving me the warning. Well, anyway, I'm going to set it by 25 pixels, and OK. And then hit delete, and it's still not doing it. Back it up. B. Let's try this again. Well, all right, let's just set that to 25 here and not worry about that. Although I would want to, there's 25, and then select all the way to the edge, and that should do it. And then all I got to do is delete. Oh, it is doing it. It's just 25 pixels isn't a lot. So I kind of want, there's my, yeah. let's just undo the delete and feather the edges a bit more. And delete again. I don't know if I can. Now delete. Yeah, that's a little easier to see, but it's, well, is it? Yeah, it's still not a lot. So undo one more. Highest I can go here is 100. Okay, let's see if that works. It didn't work at all. Oh, I think I went back to 0. Yeah, I did. So undo, undo, and I'm at 100. Now delete. Yeah, that's hardly anything. That didn't work. So undo again. Control D. Let's just do the regular feathering and see if I can get that to work. Okay, there it is. That's a radius of expand from center. Oh, that's just the way you draw the ellipse. Okay, let's try select. Oh, I have to enter first, and then I can go to select and feather. And I'll try just a bigger number, maybe 200. And delete. There we go. That's a little better. So Control D. And now I have this nice fuzzy border around the edge. It did go outside the edge, so I can still see the flat sides of it. So I would want to, let me back up one more time. Just hit Control D, and I'm going to make a smaller, again, a smaller vignette. So grab a corner. Oops. I tried using like a keyboard combination to get that. So yeah, I have to click it first and then hold the control key, and that'll scale it from the selection from the center, which is what I wanted to do. So dragging it from corner to corner got it centered well enough, and then I grab it and then hold the control key down, and then I should be able to hold the shift key, and that'll scale it without skewing it. So I'm going to bring it in quite a bit, hit enter to commit that, and then feather the selection by 200 pixels. And then let's see what that, if I delete this, then I have in Control D, highlight the background so I can see it. That's much better of a, so now I don't see the flat edges because I went all the way to the edge of the image to delete. Question? I saw your hand up. Oh, you're all right? Okay. Sound good? Okay. A lot more that we can do. In fact, in the canvas section of this, we have a, let me go back to here. Have a little list of GIMP skills that we wanted to talk about. So open and organize, like open as layers, organize them in layers. That's mainly the layers. Straighten, crop, and size. I didn't talk about cropping or resizing, but we'll get to that. Making selections. There's a lot more to talk about that as well. Retouch, healing, and enhancing. I don't really have, well, I think in the flowers I can do a couple things. And then working with the layers, we see how the layers sort of work. We still have a lot more to say on that. So there's quite a few other things here. Sharpening works pretty well too. Talk about how to do that. Using text and shapes is also useful, and the masks. So good. I'll keep that as a little guide for the rest of the things that we do in here. Okay. If this image, even though I vignetted it, maybe I didn't get it quite horizontal, or I wanted to adjust that or something, there is a measure tool that allows me to straighten this thing out. So I just gotta find it. Eraser tool, the clone tool, that's about the healing and stuff. Maybe it's, there it is. It's under the eyedropper. So hold the shift key, not hold the shift key, click and hold your mouse on the eyedropper and go to measure. And we're gonna create a line. So let's say, actually I think I did get that pretty straight because I look at that pole. But let's say that I wanted the, I don't know, this edge of the grass to be horizontal instead of slanting for some reason. So I'm going to click and drag a line on the edge of that grass. There. Okay. And then I can click the straighten button, and that should reset the image to rotate it by that angle. Oh, it rotated the background because I didn't. Okay, so undo. One more time. I still have the. I should be able to just highlight this layer and straighten again, or I'm gonna have to re-measure here. So re-measure across the edge of the grass, and then click the straighten button on the correct layer. Notice how much longer it's taking because it has a lot more pixels to worry about, whereas the background had more pixels, but they were all the same color. So it made it a lot easier to rotate. Yeah, it's actually hanging up quite a bit. There's a lot of pixels here.
The measure tool, when you click 2 points?
Click and drag a
Click and
line.
drag,
Yeah, sorry. Did that? It still didn't look like it did it. I think it only did the vignette. So undo one more time, and I'm going to highlight the actual image part of that because I had the mask selected. I think that's what happened wrong, so I'm going to try it one more time. There you go, and straight.
Where's the measure tool?
It's under the eyedropper tool, so it's the bottom left corner. Find it.
And where's the straighten button? Oh, there it is.
Yeah, it's in the tool options. Yep, good. Is that working, Devin?
When I delete the inside of the ellipsoid, and
Yeah.
instead of having a clear picture behind it, it has the background color kind of overlaid over it. And when I double check the layer, the rest of it's disappeared.
Oh, see the okay. I'll point out what. So that was the same thing. That was the same problem I had because I had the mask selected. See the white border around the thumbnail.
Mm-hmm.
Click on that one and put the white border around it, and then do it. All right. That's why it wasn't going away.
Let's try.
Let's see if that works.
I just moved it up. That's what it was doing before.
Okay.
In the toolbar on the left, there's
It's
this
just
thing
two
that says
positions, huh?
straighten button.
Yeah,
Oh,
here.
I think.
You click and drag. So you're on the, you have the measure tool, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Click on the tree thumbnail again.
Click and drag. Boom.
How much did you feather it? It's by 75. Oh. That's what I thought was so. Turn off the background, like click on the eyeball. See, it is somewhat transparent, but I was looking at the layer and it says its opacity is 100. Did you? Oh, I know. You ended up deleting some
You're
of
on
the
the
image.
transparency.
So let's just
You're on
undo
the
that. That's what.
in layer, not on the actual picture.
Oh, really?
So on your layers on the right corner, you see
There
that
we go.
little white boxes?
Now,
On the
add
right,
the mask.
lower, and that thing.
Oh, shit.
Probably that one. And then draw the ellipse again. And then you'll be all good.
Let's try it with.
And hit enter. And then you can go up to select. It's easier, in my opinion,
You say you only
to
straighten that.
feather that by however many you want. I went 200, so
Well, we did get another one,
it's
didn't
up to
I?
you. And if it doesn't work, change it.
It's got me.
It's what? Yeah.
No.
That looks okay. So we're on that. Try just using the eraser tool. Or no, not the eraser tool. Try, okay, let's draw the ellipse again. Okay, and we'll bother feathering it yet, we'll just want to check it and see if it works. Hit enter to enable selection. And then, go ahead delete. So, we're just gonna paint it with white, so we're gonna control comma, and that'll fill it with white. There.
Yeah, it's taken care of. Alright, now I know that.
That's weird. So instead of deleting that so for some reason, hitting delete did delete that mask and left it white. Whereas or maybe I didn't delete it. I was doing a control. I was filling it with the foreground color, I think. If I remember right. I don't remember. But anyway, you fill it in it because if you delete it or erase, well, you should be able to erase like I'm on the mask here, and if I use the erase tool, I should, let's set the hardness to 0, the size. If I erase the mask, it is just erasing the black ink over the image, basically. But on yours, that's not doing that. And I don't know what setting that would cause that. Well, maybe it was the, like if I add a mask to this, what are my settings here? Yeah, you might have had something else selected, like invert, or no, I don't know. Anyway, it's working now, so we'll have to look into why that would happen. Okay, so that was straightening, and that straightened. Now that I have that edge of the grass now horizontal and everything else, still looks okay. It looks a little more fisheye, I guess. So there's now cropping isn't super useful in our case here, but sometimes being able to crop an image, there's the crop tool, and it just you can crop the image itself to a certain size, which is useful, or crop a layer to a certain size. Instead of scaling it, maybe you want to crop it. Take out some of the parts that you don't want. So I think we're familiar with cropping, so I'll leave it like that. Another part of selecting something, and I'm going to use the blueberries or whatever these things are, mulberries or whatever, in this image to, as in my example. So maybe I want to do something to these berries, delete them or change their color or something or whatever. So I'm going to use, how do I do that? Like there's a lot of berries. So I'm going to use I have it selected here, and I'm going to use well, there's a couple things in here. So I'm going to use the magic wand just to show you and just highlight a berry here. So here's a berry, and if I click on the berry, it selects all the pixels. I can see the individual pixels at this point. It selects and puts a little border, a marching ants border around the pixels that are close to that color that I picked. But you can see that not all the pixels are quite blue, right? So perhaps I can change the threshold so I can widen the maximum color difference that can happen inside the selection. So I'm going to drag that up to like 50 and click it again. And now I've selected almost the whole berry. That was a good guess. See how the brown stem didn't quite get there? Now, if I got a little too ambitious here, because I see some of the green bleeding from the leaves onto that berry, especially around the edges, I'm going to get in trouble if I try to just do it again, like go up to like 75 and click it. Oh, maybe I won't get into trouble. That was actually really good. If I go too far, is what I was trying to get at. If I go too far, it may bleed outside. Yeah, there it goes. See, now I have it bled out, and so any pixel connected to that original pixel that's within 94 color values, there are 255, 256 different color values available to look at in that. So 95 bled out, right? So I didn't want to do that. Control D. I'll put this back to 75 or something, or even like 60. Then if I click on it, it didn't get quite what I wanted. You can just hold the shift key and then select on the next pixel. That'll probably bleed out too, and it did. I can tell by how long it took to do that. So if you want to use the shift key and just kind of click and get the edge that you want, set the threshold down further than that. So I'm going to use like 33 is a good one to start with. So that's not great, but then I'm going to hold the shift key down and then just go around the edge a little bit and then just click a few times, and then I got my blueberry or whatever that is. Does anybody know what that is? Mulberry?
I'm not 100% sure.
Gooseberry?
Baby.
Berry? Nice. So anyhow, then I'll just, oh, and then, so there's only like 100 of them, so I can just go around and just keep holding the shift key down and clicking around these berries until I get all the berries going, right? Well, that looks okay, but then, oh, there's actually quite a few of those berries in here. That's not very fun. That's very fun. Anyway, so I don't want to do it that way, but that's how the magic wand tool works, and it's really good in that respect. But there's another tool under it called the select by color, and so it doesn't matter where the color is on the image, as long as I can, now I'm back to threshold of 15, but like 40, I think 61 or something was the magic number. But anyway, now I'm going to click on that berry and wait for it. Yeah, the problem with that is that's too high a threshold, and it picks some of the leaves, a lot of the leaves, but it picked a lot of the berries also. Well, not actually as many as I'd want them to, but yeah, way too many pixels here. So I'm going to set the threshold back down, hit Control D, and try it again, and try to get some of the berries are in the sun, so they're going to have a different, so let's just pick that berry. So that helped, and I didn't go too far. So I'm going to hold the shift key down, select some more berries, get some more colors, and you can see that I'll probably not have a whole lot of success getting every single berry in here, but it's kind of working. So just holding the shift key down. Now I'm getting some of the leaves going, but that's okay, actually. Just hold the shift key. Yeah, my threshold's kind of low. If I can get those other berries in there. Just kind of click around the ones and try to get the marching ants to just go around the edge of the berry. Yeah. So you can kind of click inside the islands to pick the colors. There's this purple, and I was worried that it would pick these other purple kinds of things. Whoa, that was too many. Control Z. Okay. So without even touching those, I got all those berries selected. I'm not too worried about all the marching, the rogue marching ants. Yeah, this one, it's probably not going to work. Because they're just in the shadows too much. That's too gray. There's too many shadows so I'm not going to even bother with that one. So I'm pretty, I'm pretty actually satisfied with, maybe I could clean up some of this. A little bit too much. If they're blue, I'm safe to click. If they're not blue, not too safe. Yeah, a lot of debris going on here. Got a lot of the berries though, but a lot of remnants. So, what do you do? Yeah, you got too much, but I was pretty successful isolating those berries. I just got to like fix the rest of it. Okay, and the way you can do that is I can apply a layer mask based on the selection and then just paint away the rest of it. Now, holding Shift Q will show you what is selected and what isn't, but that doesn't help me that much because, well, you can see where I didn't quite get it. And then you can paint over this, I think just with the paintbrush, but that's a little more difficult here, so I'm going to Shift Q it to toggle that back. And let's try the mask thing. And hopefully, yeah, selection, and add the mask on the selection. So now I could just paint, I think with black. Let me see, paintbrush, black paintbrush, maybe not that big. And so I know that's not, and so if I paint over that, basically I'm painting black on top of that selection. So as long as I don't see a blueberry there, or mulberry, or whatever. And maybe I want the hardness set up so actually what I hit is actually going to get painted. So that's a good reason to use the hardness brush. Now I'll just go around and kind of paint over everything that's not a blueberry. And again, you can hide the mask. How do you hide the mask? Show layer mask, edit layer mask. Yeah, that's not going to help. Yeah, I thought there was a way you can disable there. So that's, yeah, that's another way to check your work. Right. Paint over a bunch of stuff, take it by sections, and just kind of paint. You can also use the marquee selections or the lasso, the free select tool, and add to that selection. But this will help. In fact, if I just zoom back out, I can already see where the berries are. That's actually, let's check that size way up. And then paint over. So I don't need the selection, so Control D. And that's a lot easier to see, and just don't hit the blueberries. And then just paint. Probably need to change the size back down. Paint in here. And it's better to use many clicks, because your undo, if you go painting around and you spend 10 minutes like painting and your fingers getting tired or whatever, and then you hit a blueberry, and then you gotta start all over, right? So let go of that every so often so you can like undo a mistake and you won't go back too far and get discouraged. So Sound good? Any questions? Up to here.
So you want to paint around what you've selected?
Yeah, basically, I'm just trying to get the berries. This is, one of the more difficult procedures is to, and this was a good example, just trying to get just the berries selected. And they had a variety of, blue hues going on, but this is one way to expedite the process. Sometimes it just takes a long time.
What happens if you want to like darken the area that you selected?
Yeah, that is actually what I want to do with these berries,
Oh,
is get them a
okay.
little darker.
Okay.
So yeah, glad you're on the same wavelength. Berry. Yeah, hit the berry. Watch the berry. Oops.
So, edit, and then it's just, okay.
Thanks. Yeah. I think I clipped a berry again. Lots of noise around it, but I'm just getting a rough. All right. So now that I've cleared out, basically I've isolated the berries with this mask, right? So now I want to saturate the berries or darken them or do whatever. So there's so I think there's a mask to selection, maybe. Yeah, mask to selection. So now I've selected the berries back. And now when I paint with like the darken brush or the dodge burn tool, where is it? It's in here somewhere. There we go. It's under the smudge tool. So what I want to pick is the dodge burn tool. So that's under that finger smudger thing. And so the dodge burn tool, and I can change the size of the brush here, and I can just do big sweeping changes here. I can darken just the selected parts. so with the selection happening, whatever I paint will only happen inside that selection. So I'm not going to mess up anything outside that selection. Okay. And I can target certain ranges of colors. Right now, midtones is the default, but I can just maybe darken the shadows, or maybe the highlights are too high and I want to darken those. But I can also, well, right now it's on dodge. Dodging comes from photography exposure, darkroom procedures where you overexpose it, and that's dodging them, and then you burn them by underexposing them, and that makes it darker. So anyway, burning makes it darker, dodging makes it lighter. So right now it's on dodge, but I think I can switch that, or you just hold the control key down. But right, in this case, I just want to burn it and then hold the control key to dodge, right? So I can switch that just by setting the type on the tool properties here. So I'm just going to zoom in, and when I drag, oh, well, actually, I'm on the mask, so I highlight the not mask, the image, and now I can click one time. Now the exposure's at 50, which is high, and a lot of these are in highlights, so it's only going to, one click is going to dodge, or burn, sorry, but burn the midtones of these berries. All I gotta do is just drag around, and I'm burning the berries. Now, if you hover over something and click repeatedly, you can really burn them, right? So to get an even amount, just once, or turn the exposure down. Usually 30 is pretty high, so I'm just gonna leave it at like 20, 30. And then I can change, maybe just get the highlights and start burning the brighter berries a little bit. So there I can darken the brighter berries a little bit. Too much. There's there. And that'll only affect the highlights on the berries too. So I can avoid maybe some of the bigger mistakes with getting too high a setting. And I'll just paint over that. Okay. Then Control D, back here. Then I can disable the mask, because that's all I wanted to do was mask out those berries to burn them. And so right click and disable mask. There we go. And now no one's the wiser. So, well, yeah, it it looks touched, but that's okay. Anyway, the berries supposedly pop out a little bit better. They were a little too much under the sun or whatever. So. Okay. One way you can. Should we take a break? We've kind of been going on for a little bit, so we'll take a quick break. Sorry, I didn't realize it was already 7. So spent half the morning or the beginning of class worrying about this stream. So anyway, we'll 7.5 minutes or whatever. I'll come back and we'll do some more.
So far
Mr. C, do you have a?
Yeah.
You got a.
Yeah.
You got a micro SD adapter by chance?
Yeah.
Had it in my hand.
Do it. This one's a USB that you plug in on
Yeah,
computers.
Seems
That-
like-
yeah, because we're trying to get the.
Yeah, these computers don't have the slot reader, whereas this is just USB. Thanks, though. That's a nice, nice one to have.
Yeah.
Oh, that one, that is a USB, huh?
Type
Oh,
C.
okay. What?
Type C.
Yeah.
That's the fun part.
Yeah,
of
that
things.
doesn't help. Oh wait, you know what? These probably do have a USB-C in the back.
This one does. This one's a USB. But
I got one that has both USB and Type C.
Those are nice.
Micro USB. I keep that one in my drone case.
The graphics card has USB-C. I don't know if you can actually use that. Good enough.
Right, we got it. Hey. Another jump drive. Oh, nice.
What?
All right. Ready to get back at it? So, you know, we kind of just randomly jumped in and started doing stuff, right? And because we already kind of got the image as good as we could get it in Darktable. However, if you find that the image needs more sharpening or more color correction or something, then Photoshop's great for isolating, you know, being able to select like the berries and correcting those as well. Generally speaking, the macro stuff that you do, well, I shouldn't say macro, but the overall things that you do to the image more or less could be taken care of in Darktable. So you probably don't need to go to the filters and enhance and do like noise reduction. Well, maybe noise reduction would. Most of the time, Darktable has better tools than that. You can also, isn't there sharpening here? Where is it? thought that was under enhance. Let me see. Yeah, sharpen. Unsharp mask. That will also, that's a pretty good algorithm for sharpening your image if Darktable doesn't do what you want it to. Those are usually the first things you want to do to an image, along with the levels and curves. And we're familiar with, well, I think it's a little easier to show what the levels and curves do in an image, and maybe I will do that on the vignetted thing. Although we did a pretty good job in Darktable of getting that kind of where you want it. But I'm going to apply levels to this, so Control L, and adjust the color levels. Oops, I hit the wrong key. As far as levels go, try to open that up a little bit. I can see that there's not a lot of white, right? So I probably overdid it a little bit in the Darktable. So we can stretch that out a little bit by bringing in the not the output, but the colors. So if I bring in right at the base of the mountain of white colors, you know, I'm clipping a lot of this other stuff. So all these pixels to the right of this marker are going to be white. Likewise, and maybe I made this too big, but you can kind of, well, let's make this smaller here. Okay. So I can see what the preview is. So it brightened up all these colors here, right? So that does look a little better. And then on the left side, I did go too dark here, but there's a little bit of room here to shove that in there and make the darker shadows a little bit darker, gives a little deeper contrast there. So I'm increasing the contrast by doing that. And then the gamma, or yeah, I can shift that to the right, so more of the pixels are going to be darker, or to the left, where more of the pixels are going to be lighter. Typically, where's 1 on this? There. It's going to be at 1. You don't want to go probably 8 in any direction on the gamma. Generally, on a good picture, you shouldn't have to, right? So if I scoop that over to like 90, mid 90s, I can get a little bit better. That was way too much. We're like 106 in this case, a little bit lighter because I went a little bit too high on that. So 106 or so, 105, and that brightened it up just a teeny bit, gave me the contrast I need, and shifted the white balance a little bit. So levels are really good for the entire image, whereas curves can target a certain range. But so there, I can hit Control Z to see where I get. So that was a little dim, and then go back to edit and redo. So there's the end result. So a little bit better depth or contrast there. So, is that all right? Okay. There's some other effects that we can talk about here, and adding text. That's another thing that is useful. So in this poster, right, this would be, I don't know what I would call this poster, just random pics around Salmon College campus or something. And I would put that at the bottom, or move everything. Anyhow, let's just put, Salmon College has like a logo, right? A little sun logo or something. Has like a Z symbol kind of. Let's check it here for a sec. Salmon College. Yeah, that was the little guy right here, right? So I don't know if I can have, if I do a search and search for logo, it's gonna give me Marketing, yeah, it's probably in here. I don't think they allow you to download these anymore, but let's just see.
If it doesn't, you can probably screenshot it.
Yeah, that won't be a very good resolution, but you know, sometimes you might just need to. I don't think that's loading.
Right. Head up now.
Oh, you got it?
Yeah.
You got everything you needed off of it?
Yeah, I did.
Okay.
Yeah. Today.
Did it work okay?
Yeah, it did.
Thanks, Ray.
Yeah.
Bryce. So we'll see. Well. Yeah, I guess it's not going to load. So, let's open this image in a new tab. See how good. So that's better, right? So here's the image.
Use that entire thing right
Hmm?
there. Use that entire thing right there.
I
And then
could.
try and get rid of all of that white stuff, like through the
GIMP. Yeah.
through the masking. That's what it's called.
Yeah. So let's do that. So I want to just I don't want the rest of this. I just want the sun, right? So I'm gonna right click on it and just copy the image. Oh, you need it.
Yeah, I'm trying to get some clips on.
All right. Oh, right. So sorry. Yeah. Very good. All right. So kill that one page. That's not gonna load. Now I'm gonna add this whole thing that I just copied the image off the internet, right? And I can go to edit and paste, but I can also paste as a new layer. There I go. And there it is. And it's pasted layer. It just put it above whatever I had selected, which was the background. So let's put it above everything here. There it is. And maybe I want to scale it a little, right? So I already got the scale tool. Click it. Drag it out. Nice. That's probably good enough. Looks great. Oh, I only want the sun out of this, right? So hit enter. There, it scaled it. So now, it's not too bad. Okay. So if I just want this part, there's a couple things you can do. With that layer selected, I'm just going to drag a ellipse around the object I want. Maybe make that a little bit bigger. So I can get all the... Even easier, okay, is maybe just using the lasso tool and just dragging a box around it. But there I go. And I don't want to feather the edges, so don't feather the edges. And hit enter. So that selects on that layer just this stuff. If I'm really sure I don't want anything else, I can invert that selection. So I can go select and invert. Selects everything but that, and then I can hit delete. Right, so that's one way to do it. Oh, it's way feathered, but anyway, that's okay.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't know why that got feathered like it did. Maybe it was just too late. Oh, I thought I turned that off, but it went back on. Anyway, that's okay because I'm gonna use the magic wand tool, right, or the color, select by color. And let's zoom in here. And I'll click on the purple. Selects all that's purple here. And I'll delete that. And then Control D. There's a little bit of edge on the purple here, so I'm going to click right on that edge. Yeah, that's going to take out all that other, and a couple of the other ones I missed. So delete, and Control D. Not bad. There is a little bit of yellow and stuff going on, so with the eraser tool, I'll just kind of go around. Oh yeah, I'll hit that. Don't hit the sun. Think of it like a berry. All right. Okay, so now I've just cleared out, just using the select by color tool, cleared out everything but the sun, but the layer is really big, So I'm gonna right click on the layer and where is it? Layer to image size or boundary size. I think it's image size. Nope, I didn't want that. Layer to boundary size. Nope. We'll just undo that. So here's the original layer back. I should be able to resize that layer to the alpha channel, right? To its crop to content. That's what I was looking for. I thought that was in here. I guess it isn't. So anyway, sorry. So if I go to layer and crop to content, that makes the layer the size that, and that also tells me if I missed any of those other pixels around. Okay, so looks okay, looks okay. Now I can move it around, get it in position, do what I want with it, scale it up or down or whatever. So now I can move it around. And what was I going to do with it? Oh,
Make it bigger.
okay. Scale. And it's something like that, right? Should be good enough. Move. There, so now I have this nice sun in here. There's a couple other layer like filters that are fun to play with, and one of them is like a bevel or emboss tool that takes the edges and gives them like some depth to them. I don't know if that's going to work too well on this because they're kind of sharp. So distorts and emboss is the tool that I was thinking of, and we'll see what that does. Yeah, that looks okay. Yeah, I kind of like it actually. I could maybe adjust that depth a little bit so it doesn't look like it's inside out, but I'll actually kind of like that. But I'll just use a couple pixels to give it that depth there. And then the elevation and the azimuth is all good. Elevation is how high the light source is from angle from horizontal, and then the elevation or the azimuth is the direction the light's coming from. So there. I think I like it. So I'm just going to use that. Now, if you didn't want to lose the original sun part of it, maybe you could undo and make a duplicate of this layer before you do that. So now I have, maybe I can double click on those, and I'll call that sun, and then I'll call this one embossed sun. There. So now with that, I can redo that filter recently used, emboss, and okay. I kept the same settings or whatever. So no, it didn't. Anyway, I'll keep that because it's cool. Then maybe rearrange that a little bit, and then blend these two layers together using a blend. Right now the mode is normal, but let's say I want to use like overlay is probably a good one to start with just to see how it looks. So here's overlay. So it brightens the bright parts and darkens the darker parts, and then you can just use the opacity to tone that down a little bit. Well, I kind of want that full, so I can change this opacity to make that look a little bit more like the sun with a little bit of edge on it. So there. So then I have this kind of sun image with an underlying embossing going on. So that's fun. then you can merge those layers. Like I can just hold the control key. Well, wait. Is it Alt? I should be able to hold the Shift key or Alt key and select both of these layers. Why am I not able to select both layers here? Anyway, you can merge those layers together. I think you just right click it and merge visible layers. Oh yeah, so let's just uncheck the rest of these. Yeah, and then merge the visible layers. Merged. And then turn these back on. That didn't look...
Use the paintbrush or whatever? Or is that not how you do it?
Yeah, all I wanted to do is make one layer out of those two, but that didn't look like I wanted it. Yeah. Well, okay. I'll leave it the way it is. For some reason that, I guess it ruined the overlay. Yeah. Yeah. There's other ways to work that, but that's okay. Okay. Good. So that makes it look okay. So as far as text goes, I don't know that I have to go over that too much, but you can emboss the text as well. The text layer can be edited, so if I just drag out a layer here and just type in what was I going to name it? Campus Pics or something like that. You can highlight the text, change the size in pixels, so maybe make that a little bit bigger so it can fit in one line. There we go. Can't see it off of that. I can't really move it. Okay, change tools. I kind of deleted some things.
You just put that as Campus Pics?
Yep. So, I did that on purpose. So I could go back and edit it. So you can double click on that layer, not the layer name because that'll change the layer's name or whatever, but you can double click on the layer thumbnail and then you can get back in here and re-type what you needed. How about that? And we can change the color, and inside of this we also have an eyedropper tool where you can dynamically, like maybe I want to pick like this orangish color over here, and okay, and then I have there the move tool. Yeah, you should be able to select both of these layers so that you can move them together, but I don't know why you can't anymore, or if I'm just not getting it. Anyhow, guess I'll just manually get it where I think it should be. Okay, and maybe I want to emboss that one too, or whatever, but there you go. So, as far as the assignment goes, we're going to make a composition of the images you took and output it. I think I still have a 4-minute thing to, let's say that's the end result here, and I would probably put a drop shadow or an embossing on that or make it look a lot better. But anyway, this was just an example. And so now I can file and I can keep, so this composition, maybe I want to go back and edit it, or I'm really proud of it and stuff. So I would just save it. And it's going in my folder on the server. And it's going to be in an XCF document, which is a GIMP native format. And that allows it to save all the layers and the masks and the settings that we have in there. Makes the text still editable later on, so if I want to change the title and things like that. So it's a good idea to get those pics and enter, and it saves it as, it's a very big document. I wonder how big that is. Because all these layers are like 1100, well, they're quite a few pixels and stuff. So on file, that image is probably kind of big. There it is. It's 40 megabytes. That's not too bad. Okay, but if I'm going to turn it in, I don't want to turn in the XCF document because I can only open that and see it in GIMP. So I have to start up GIMP and I'll load up this this large image or whatever. So what you do is you export as, so you can put it wherever you want. So PNG is good, or you can just type in JPG at the end or TIF. Those are your only real choices. I mean, well, there are different choices. Tagged image format, so it actually allows you to store layers if you want. So it has other information you can put on it. It's a larger file format, and it allows you to compress it with a lossless compression, so you can actually preserve all the data in that image. But PNG also is lossless compression, and so it's a little bit bigger. But if you don't care, and I don't really care, maybe I'll put JPG as my output because I already have all the information I need in the GIMP file. So I don't care if I have a low quality-ish image or whatever that I can do. So anyway, I'll export. And then you get another dialog to say what the quality of that JPEG image is. I just leave it at the default and export. And then that's it. I would turn in that JPEG into the Canvas assignment. Sound good? So the assignment after this is going to be where we do this with taking raw footage and raw pictures on the drone, and do the same kind of composition. Go into Darktable, edit those, and make a composition with drone images. That'll be fun. So hope to do that on Thursday. Get the batteries charged, and we'll fly some of these drones. If you want to bring your own, it's great. We can look at your settings, make sure we're shooting in RAW.
Do that.
Yeah.
Well, I'll just open mine up tonight, maybe look and see what settings are on there.
Yeah. Because a lot of times we just kind of neglect it and just, takes great pictures, and we don't look at those settings and stuff and the file formats and whatnot. So
My drone might not be the best to fly out here, and Ben can vouch for that. Maybe, I don't know.
say what?
I have a really big drone. I have a big Typhoon 8 unit.
Oh, nice.
So
Yeah. Well, we have an Inspire 2 that's pretty big. It's probably maybe not as big as your.
yeah, that's probably a little bigger.
It's kind of scary.
Yeah, we'll fly the scary ones. Just kidding. Anyway, yeah, feel free to bring it, and we can look at the settings. That's fun, and it's not too big. We can. We don't want to be flying it over a bunch of people anyway, so we'll probably fly it down here where it's pretty sparsely populated. There's not many classes out there. It'll be fine.
And we're late in the evening too. So.
At that too, yes. We'll have some nice evening imagery, and so we'll have some good white balance settings to set, and be able to. All those settings we talked about on your phone are available usually on the drone.
I think mine does because the controller is an Android
Nice.
screen. So
Yeah, that's very good. Cool. Guess we're done. Any questions? Any other?
How do you change the background color again?
I don't remember. No, I'm kidding. So let's say I want to change this background color now, which is totally fine, right? So I can go to background, and Alpha 2 selection. No, I want to be able to select the whole thing. So I can't really do it in there, right? So yeah, no. Easiest way to do that is what? Select all. And with that, yeah, so I just went Control A, selects everything, and then choose the color you want, right? So I got, okay, here's a nice rubilinth color, right? And then Control, comma, changes the background color. Again, that's the same thing as going to Edit and fill with foreground color, background color, or even a pattern. We haven't talked about that, but we could. Did that work?
Yep.
Nice. All right. Stop my stream.